Hello Aries, and welcome to Embrace the Moon Tarot and your Tarotscope for April 2018. So vibrations seem to be getting a little bit higher, and I'm just going to check into the energies of mind, body, relationship, and spirit or passion, focus or strength, potential obstacle, and your present position. So your present position is starting to feel connected. So kind of putting together some spiritual lessons that you've already gained recently and how you can apply it within your life externally. So kind of really merging the internal and the external. Allowing yourself to see how they can work together and take you to this next step, wherever you decide you want to go, wherever you want it to lead you. But really tapping into that, like I said, seeing that work that you've done internally and seeing how it is linked. And if it's not quite linked or you haven't seen the link yet, being able to be in a position where you can recognize that it can be linked and that everything that you've been going through internally can actually somehow link to your external world. And by linking it to the external world, you can break through some barriers and you can grow in ways that you didn't realize. And it's just because of the experience that you've had, the things that you've been going through or have gone through, and just, like I said, the internal work that you've been doing. So there's a definite link of the internal and the external. The world as you know it, the life here on earth, and whatever it is that you've been kind of connected to on a spiritual level, there's a link, there's a connection, and it can help you grow in new areas. And so this is kind of a point of self-discovery that you're moving into as you move into April. So depending on when you're seeing it, this particular video, when you're watching this, not only in the time frame of April itself, but also where you are in your personal journey, it's one of those things where it's either coming or you're really actively experiencing it right now. And some of you, if you're watching this late enough in April, if you're coming across it late enough in April, you, in retrospect, you can see how you recognize the link even when you didn't actively recognize it. There was a subconscious part of you that linked the two, and you've grown as a result of it. So somewhere in your life, as you progress into April and move forward, you'll start to see these connections. So just kind of an active participation in linking spirituality and life here on earth is the heavy energy, like the very present energy in the beginning of April. And it's going to carry through. So it's going to carry through as you move through April. This is sort of a revelation that you're going to experience, and it's going to be that little fuel to the fire, or that feed that you need to get you. And for whatever reason, the scenario of, I think because it's spring, what comes to mind is thinking about planting a garden and how you plant the seed and it grows. And it's just getting that point where you realize that all of that stuff that you fed and put into the dirt has fed it, and it's now growing. And that's the experience that you're going to have. It's not just going to be the plant shooting up through the earth, but seeing the progress of growth as you progress through April. So that is the current energy. What we have going on in the mind is we have a stalemate comes to mind. So you've gotten to a point where you have recognized all the hard work that you've gone through, and you recognize things that are a result of the hard work, but there's a bit of an uncertainty of, all right, am I supposed to stay and still be reflective on things that have happened, or is it time for me to move? And overall, I feel that this is a good place for you. Being at that point of being reflective is good. And that means that you are on the verge of moving on. That what you have recognized has occurred and has grown and has been the rewards that you have reaped as a result of the hard work that you've done is true and real, and be reflective on that. And if you are experiencing that reflective state, just recognize that this is just momentary, and don't allow yourself to get stuck in that feeling of being a stalemate, because it's not. You're just experiencing this moment of being a bit reflective, and it's a healthy thing because you can see where you've been, and that allows you to get a better understanding of where you want to go. So just be in the moment. Allow yourself to feel it. I feel that this is very much prominent in the beginning of April. Kind of, your thoughts are going to be really reflective, just the prominent word that comes to mind. Allow yourself to be reflective and just recognize it for what it is, and realize that you'll know when you'll feel that spur to kind of, all right, reflection is done. time to move on. Now I can do whatever is next for me to do. So it's one of those things where this is in the typical Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's usually depicted as somebody who is sitting and looking at a plant with the coins on it, which are representative of produce or what you're about to harvest. So you're about to reap what you have sowed. And it's just this particular depiction of the card, and being that it's in reverse, the energy that I'm getting for it is that moment of being reflective and realizing that it's almost time for harvest, but it's too soon to quite pick anything quite yet. You're about to transition from that. And overall, it feels like the actual transition from being reflective to being to a point where you can feel like you can start picking and start harvesting, it's going to be a slow transition. So if you think about when you plant something, you might see things grow, and if you check it every single day, you're not going to see the progress the same as if you plant it and check it, nurture it as you need, and walk away knowing that you don't have to go back and do it tomorrow. But in a couple of days, you may have to go and pick some weeds, you may have to prune it, you may have to kind of check to see if anything needs attention. So you don't want to watch it continuously. Be reflective, recognize it for the state that it is in right now, and know that harvest is coming soon, but it's not right now. But transition, you're in transition. It is coming soon. And it does feel like towards the end of April, you'll start to be able to harvest some of those beginning works. And obviously, when you still going with the analogy of a garden or something that you have planted and you want to harvest, and the first few pickings are usually on the small side. We don't get the full harvest those first few pickings. So you usually have a few things that you can pick and eat or utilize, and then there might be a delay before the next bunch and bigger supply of harvest is available to you. And obviously, if you're familiar, and if you're not familiar with gardening, whenever you are harvesting vegetables or whatever, there is a pattern in which you harvest a little bit the first time, and it's just this first few offerings that you get, and then there are multiple harvests after that. A plant usually renders at least 2 harvests, if not 3. So you can pick a huge bunch, and then in a couple weeks, those plants will deliver another harvest. And you're in transition where you can see things have grown, and you can see that you're about ready to pick so that you can eat and enjoy it, but it's not quite ripe enough yet. That is where you're at in the beginning of April. But as you transition towards the end of April, you'll start to see those first few things that you can pick, those first few berries, those first few beans, those first few pea pods, whatever it is that you've planted. You'll get those first few. You'll be able to enjoy those first few. It's not the huge harvest, but it's the beginning. It's that simple reward to be like, yes, I actually did what I needed to do, and this is the reward. It's coming, and you get the first few tastes of it. And towards the end of April, you'll be transitioning from the waiting, which you are at the beginning of April, to actually starting to see that harvest come to fruition. Within the actual physical planes, this is what makes up your world, whether it be people in your life, your career, life as you know it, the 4 corners of your life, however you want to approach it. We have in the physical plane the 7 of Cups, and I feel that this is very much connected to that 7 of coins and waiting for that harvest. And this is basically telling you to zero in on your focus. This is a request, an energy that is going to be available to you should you desire to go in a specific direction. You're actually being told focus it now. So, if you go back to the analogy of those plants that are, the harvest is starting to get ripe and be prepared for you to pick, focus your energy now. Recognize what it is that you're supposed to be focusing on and nurturing. Recognize what it is that no longer feeds, what it is that you need to take out from your garden, what it is that maybe is growing, but it's not ready for you to pick and it doesn't need attention maybe for another month or 2. Zero in on what you know is going to be giving you the rewards that you need. Zero in on what it is that you know gives you the joy that you need. And I feel that comes to mind, seek joy, just kind of screamed out, seek joy. So whatever you're going through, whatever you're experiencing right now, you're being told to zero in your focus and make sure that what you are doing brings you joy. Make sure that it makes you feel passionate and alive with that wellspring of joy that you feel. When you're a kid and you enjoy things, you don't even know that you're enjoying things. You don't even realize how joyful you are. And someone might actually comment, "Oh, those kids are so joyful. They don't have a care in the world." it's kind of along that kind of concept of joy. When we are so focused on something that just fills us to that capacity in that way, we focus our energy and our intention in that direction, and then the rewards and the abundance come back in full return. And so you're just being told, focus your energy, seek joy, focus your energy on that which helps you to fulfill that internal joy, to move yourself forward. And those, you'll transition. That transition will be full of joy, and then the actual act of and being in the new transition, the new version of yourself, will be filled with more joy. And I just feel like it's taking you to the next level. All of that internal work that you've been going through, this is kind of propelling you to that next level. This is kind of the catalyst that allow you to go to the next level. Emotionally, we have the devil, and the first thing that came to mind when I laid down this card was the devil's in the details. So it just feels as though there are some heavy emotions that are linked to the amount of energy that you're spending on whatever it is that you're spending on, and it's kind of bearing down on you in sort of kind of ripping tears in the fabric of your emotional state, in the sense of you're just feeling unsettled. And as a result of that, like, there's these pockets or these those little tears that you had these moments of just being emotionally unsettled. And so you're being told the devil's in the detailed. And I think that it's not that the devil's in the details as far as you need to be detail oriented, as much as the devil is in the fact that you're spending too much time in the detail, which means you're not seeking the joy that you're supposed to be seeking. I hope that makes sense. So you're let up on being so focused on those details that actually kind of bog you down and wear you down. You don't want to be looking. I use the analogy of a fabric. So you don't want to be picking up that fabric and stretching it and looking at it through the light to look for those tears. That's not supposed to be your intent. And so this being chained that you're feeling emotionally is because you're spending more time doing that than you really need to be. You're being told you can set yourself free from those details. Don't let that become your personal devil, basically. So give yourself permission to know that even though there may be some simple tears every once in a while, that does not make up the whole of the fabric, and you're supposed to be focusing on the whole of the fabric. And when you can do that, it allows you to become more focused on what it is that you're supposed to be focusing on, what it is that you desire to be focusing on. And with that, the harvest can come without that cloud that you occasionally are overcasting on it when you're spending too much time focusing on the devil of the details. So give yourself permission to let go of the chains. Because the devil in the detail isn't that you're supposed to take in the action in the detail. It's actually becoming your own personal inner devil, and it's bogging you down. It's making you feel chained. So I hope that makes sense. I don't feel like I need to expound on that anymore. I feel like that is actually sufficient, and you have gotten the message that you're supposed to be getting. Spiritually, within this last pocket, I usually focus on either spirit or passion. Sometimes they're very much intertwined. This feels very spiritual, though. We have the High Priestess in reverse, and I feel that this is in connection with that. Struggling with the devil in the details, it's actually making you feel chained. As a result of it, you're starting to question and not rely on your intuition nearly as much as you could be. You could actually be relaxing a bit more and allowing these internal insights just flood into you and be able to go with it. And you're not relying on them. You're not accepting them. You're not completely opening yourself up to them. You're so focused on these chains within the devil of these details that sometimes you have your head down, and then in this, spiritual, almost psychic message or insight or gift is being given to you, because you're looking down at that cloth and looking at the tears and being chained to the details of that. It actually passes over you before you get a chance to look up and see that. So you're missing out by these choices that you're making. And it's not that it's not available to you, but because of the amount of time that's being spent on the details, you actually miss the fact that you missed a spiritual intuitive hit. So you don't even know that you need to be looking for it. So you've not just missed that it went over you, but you're missing the fact that you should be looking for it. Like, so it's available to you, basically what I'm saying. It's not that the message is not still available to you. It is, but you missed it coming to you so much so that you don't even realize that it's still available to you. And then along with that comes the baggage of questioning, well, do what I think I know, is it actually correct or not correct? So then it just comes with this whole, moment of questioning self and questioning personal intuition and questioning connection, and not even wondering, not even feeling that you can have absolute faith in what you know. So it's just kind of creating this little pocketive cycle of knowing that you have intuition and knowing you can rely on it, but having moments where you kind of miss it, and then either you don't realize you've missed it and are left kind of hanging because you don't know that you can look and reach up and grab it, or you can see that it's available to you, but then there's the whole conundrum of, oh, but I kind of missed it. So is it actually an intuitive hit, or do I just think that it's an intuitive hit and want it to be an intuitive hit? So there's just this whole cycle of uncertainty mostly because of where your focus is, or where your focus is not, however you want to look at it. So buckle down and focus, like we said, buckle down and focus. And with that focus, you can release yourself from the chains of the devil and the details that are kind of being a bit of a distraction for you. And with that, you can flip that high priestess card back around. And spiritually, you can be that connection that you know you already are, but you just feel a bit uncertain and almost like an imposter within yourself, as far as just feeling like you don't know if you can rely on yourself. And I'm here to tell you, you can. Just kind of let go of the devil details, focus, and you can get that intuition to just come naturally. And with it coming naturally, you can get to where you accept it naturally without questioning it as hardcore as you are. Your strength is to let go and stop hiding from yourself. We have the Seven of Swords in the Strength location, and I feel that some of the reason why you're busying yourself with this not certain and trying to figure out this point of reflection and not zeroing in on your focus and spending time focusing on the devil and the details is kind of a distraction too it's allowing you to hide yourself from yourself. So there are elements of yourself that you already know you want to make come to the surface and you want to become, but there's a part of you that doesn't want to embrace it because you know it's kind of different than who you have presented prior to this point, or it's a bit different than how you visualize yourself as who you present yourself already, or different from how people already perceive you, even though this may have been who you always have been. It's just not a part of you that you always allow to come completely forward. And so there's just this fear of not being accepted, because even though this may have been who you always were in quiet within yourself and to yourself, there's just this fear that so many people did not know that this was an aspect of yourself. And so when you start presenting this part of yourself, they're going to actually be like, wait, who are you now? Like, where did this come from? And trying to be able to explain to people, this is kind of who I've always been. It's just easier not to embrace it completely and not to expose that side of herself fully. And so there's just this, I feel like this is a bit of an internal struggle that you're going through, and you're just being told to stop hiding yourself from yourself. You're not being told to just completely go out and expose yourself completely to everybody. That comes in time. You're almost looking too far into forward into the details, devil in details. You're looking too far into the future of the details regarding this aspect, and you're not supposed to be focusing that far into the future. Right now, all you need to do is embrace yourself as yourself. These changes, whatever they are, however much they may or may not seem like yourself, they'll come organically. And the shifts and the changes and the transformation will happen organically. And then that, in retrospect or in relation to other people that are in your life, that'll happen organically too. So don't force anything, but that includes not forcing, hiding yourself from yourself. So your strength this month is really just embracing who you are. And you don't have to externalize that part right away. That'll come in time. But if you even just spend the time internalizing the fact that you embrace who you are and things that you recognize of yourself right now, that's perfectly okay right now. That can be the first step. And you can stay on that step for a while. It doesn't have to, you don't have to transition to the next step right away. You don't even have to know what the next step is. Like this step alone can take a little bit of time to kind of make your new home. So just take your time, but stop hiding yourself from yourself. And this is, I know for a fact this isn't always easy. Trying to embrace a side of yourself that you've always secretly had since being a child, but no, it's not who you grew up into present yourself as an adult. It can be a bit difficult and it can be a bit timid, but they're just being told it's okay. First step is embrace yourself as yourself and just move forward from that. The possible obstacle we have here is the Father of Cups. And this is just kind of talking about the emotional link that comes with this change. And I feel that this is in great connection with that embracing of self. And it's just, I'm really trying to tap into the specifics. And I'm even being told the specifics of this is the devil in the details that we're trying to avoid. Okay, give me a second as I really try to tap into this message. So Father of Cups. It's about balancing, recognizing that the emotional results of this month, as you move through the month and as these changes and transformations come about, be open and acceptant of those emotions and how they make you feel and how they can soften the heart in a new way that you may have not realized was not softened before. But then the second half of the message is linked with the devil in the details, and let you just be balanced about it because you don't want to be overwhelmed with emotion to the point of it drowning you. So there's a message of balancing, and obviously the obstacle can be if you get too wrapped up in the emotion part of it where it actually drowns you. Allow it to be a gift or a lesson in softening parts of your heart that you didn't even realize could use a little extra softening, but nothing more. And that's all I'm getting. And so I feel like this is one of those things that'll make more sense as you live through it. And I don't feel that this is a strong obstacle. So it's not like it's heavy. It's not like it's going to be experienced by all. But for those of you that might come across it, it's just kind of, hey, okay, you feel the emotion, soften in the heart as it needs to, take it as the gift as you need to take it, but nothing more. And you're able to move on from that. And that's really all I'm getting from that. So take that however it applies and resonates, and leave the rest, I guess. All right, Aries, I'm going to go ahead and pull one more card to kind of tap into a little extra something to leave you with. And I have obstacles or detours in the right direction. And I feel that this is resonating again with that focus, with the devil in the details, with tapping into that intuitive connection, but also and probably primarily with the Father of the Cups. It's filling in actually what I wasn't getting from the Father of the Cups. As soon as I pulled this card, I was like, snap, that is the connection. So obstacles or detours in the right direction. And I think that's the whole point of don't get too caught up in the emotion. Whatever shifts and change you're experiencing and the emotion that brings, don't get caught up in that. Realize that a lot of times these things are detours. So allow it to soften your heart, how it's supposed to soften your heart. Take it as the gift that it is, and see it for the obstacle. If it comes down to the point where you're recognizing it to be an obstacle and you're really struggling with it as an obstacle, recognize it as a detour. So allow it to be the lesson you need to be whatever it is that you are growing into, and be the detour and the direction that'll help you to stay focused and to release the obstacles and to connect with that higher intuitive self that you have, so you can get to where you can see that harvest and enjoy that harvest when the time comes. All right, Aries, that is all I have for you for this month, for April 2018. I just wanted to reiterate that I actually have a Patreon page. So if you love my channel and you love these readings and you want to support them, you can do one-time donation, or there are tiers that include weekend readings, new moon readings, and there's even one that has a personal monthly reading subscription. And I would love the support, because I would love to do this more and more. So thank you for everything. I hope April is good to you. Make it a great month, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.